Here's one thing working with the community, where you're working with people who are working for themselves all the time and they can go and come at their own. But every now and then you run into a person whose time really doesn't belong to them. And I don't know if researchers understand that again. We talked about that one time too, about setting these meetings at these inconvenient times.
Right.
You know, there's sometimes things are done on Saturdays, things done in the evening time. But when we brought up, it was said, it was brought up about a time after or on a weekend or whatever, and that wasn't received well. That's not a good point. That's not a good point. In certain areas, I mean, it's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but in our town, it doesn't always work like that. You know, for real, it doesn't always work like that. There are things that got to be done, and if we don't do them, then they won't get done.
If the community has a history of going to Wednesday night Bible studies, respect that, even though you might go down to the local store and see everybody at the local store, nobody at the Bible study. But
Wednesday night is prayer night.
Yeah, but the community has that as an issue, as a moral, as a moral mandate for themselves. So respect that they would have that Wednesday night. So you know you may want to look at not having meetings on a Wednesday night.
And when you come into that community, don't think that this is all that I do because this is your research. I may be wearing 6 other hats. I may be the school board chairperson. I may be the Sunday school teacher at my church. I may be somebody's wife, somebody's mother. I may be the director of this nonprofit. Don't assume that community folks can dedicate all this time to do these things, because we have other responsibilities as well, and so do these organizations. They can't dedicate all this time to do that research, and we can't do it for free. Because you take away Ms. Shelby's time or my time or any of our time, somebody has to provide the resources to pay for somebody to fill in where that gap is in that organization when that person is taken away. So those are all things that must be considered as well.
My rallying cry is simply that rural dynamics are rural dynamics. They do not fit the structure of urban programming, community development. There are ways to do things that work in rural areas. It brings together unnatural partners. So just because a person is sitting at the, it doesn't mean that you're neighbors or your friends. It means that you're working together on a project to get something done. So I say that to say that they're unnatural alliances as it looks on paper. But they work. So there are rural dynamics that only may not get along with a person, but that doesn't exclude her from involving that person in the process. So it's a way of doing business in rural areas in terms of getting things done. You know that maybe by virtue of some projects you've had before, by some successes of what's going on, but it's not a homogeneous group in the sense that everybody looks alike or talks alike, but they do come together around a common issue based on what they have, what they stand to reap from it, as it relates to a variety of different things. So, if the mayor's here, he's looking for the enhancement of the community. The community-based providers here, they're looking at how they could supplement their program. If the principal is here, he's looking at how he can address that issue in the school. So it's not a cookie-cutter approach.
But there's no best practice how you do things in the rural community that's established. It's just not. Because we are totally a different makeup of other places. Yeah. And most of the rural communities seem to be the communities that's kind of left behind on a lot of things that people don't consider important.
Yeah. Because I know as a CBO and trying to develop proposals now, one of the best, the thing is now is research-based, evidence-based programming for your program. So if there's a particular issue that you're trying to address, they want you to get research-based or effective programs. And again, that research was conducted in urban areas that's not applicable to rural areas, first of all. And then the second thing is the cost that's associated with purchasing that level of curriculum. Exactly.
So what I'm saying, you can't always go back and get to that best practice model and
Right.
use it in the rural communities to a certain degree.
And we will tend to come out with some of the same or even better outcomes.
Or better.
But our program is not evidence-based.
Exactly.
I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago at the Casey Foundation about us not being able to demonstrate the success of our programs based on the fact that researchers, we can't sustain a model of program delivery long enough to get the numbers. Oftentimes the program is connected, any measures that come out of it are connected to a funder, and when the funding's gone, it's gone. So, so she's trying to get some conversations going between us and some researchers who may or may not be interested, but what we want to do is have effective data collection that we cannot do. I don't know of any community-based organization in Arkansas, and especially, I don't know of any, maybe someone as large as Centers or something like that, may have the capacity to gather data and have somebody interpret the data and have it applied to real life applications. But our stuff is basically anecdotal. So as things go on and money gets tighter and people are looking to fund those things that they know and demonstrate success, we can point to the fact that maybe juvenile crime is down when the program is in effect, but it's not sustained over a period of time to say, well, we did this for a year and it worked. But how do you know about long term? And those opportunities are almost not available at all.
So another thing that I think we really need to, academic folks need to address is we don't have the resources to do all this cost reimbursement.
Okay.
We don't have a system, we don't have those kinds of dollars where you tell me you have this amount of money.
Charge it to
But we
me.
can't advance you any money.
Charge it to me. I'm gonna pay you later.
Yeah, we need you to do this work, but we can't give you any resources
Right.
now.
You got to build
But all
after
the
the fact.
resources are at the academic institution.
Right.
When it comes down to funding, that at the beginning of it, that first of all, the community be in on creating the budget.
Right.
Then we'll be in on,
And not just the community, but
But
a
we
lot
need
of
to
times
know
they'll
about
let
what
us
the
create a
academic-
community budget.
right, but we need to know what the academic budget is
The
going to look
whole
like.
budget.
The whole budget.
Not that we want no folks' salaries,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
normally the case. We don't want to reveal salaries. That's not what we're trying to get at. We're talking about the project budget.
Right.
So,
But it's always easy for them to know what the community,
academic folks
what
are
the
making.
community salaries.
Right.
But
Look,
okay.
look.
But I think the process is here. One of the dues would be is that we would be in on the creating of the entire budget. That would be
All
number
aspects.
one. All aspects
of the
of the
budget.
budget.
And all
And-
aspects of planning too.
Right, in all aspects of the planning, of the budget. Then the next thing I think a do would be is that we would also be given an opportunity to have some advanced reimbursement. I guess is something.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to say that, but
provide in advance.
Yeah.
provide in advance. That's
And
right.
we know federal dollars don't allow that sometimes, but somehow we should
But-
be able to come up with some resources.
But if possible, let us say it like this: if possible, the community would be provided in advance. Okay.
Because there has even been the expectation that the community would go to their local financial institution and ask for a line of credit, and I don't think that's fair
No, that's not fair.
to the community at
No.
all.
And
Even
the reason
though
we think
do,
so
we
let
can
so
do
let
that.
so let's say this right there. Even though the reason we sort of feel that a line of credit might not be the best way is because most of your local institution will charge you interest on the money.
Yes.
And if we're only getting X amount of dollars, we're not getting money
pays the
for
interest?
interest. So
That's
so we don't have any
And
money to
federal
pay.
dollars will not pay
That's
interest.
right.
Yeah, so,
That's
and
right.
federal dollars would not pay interest. So therefore, we're saying if we're working with a federal program, then why not allow us to have some advance so we would not have to do that, okay? And we're talking about maybe a quarterly, a 3-month advance or a 2 to 3 month advance on what we're doing. And
Whatever the whatever the physical organization is
Requires
comfortable.
to
with it.
manage.
And also they go back to the planning process. What's gonna move in the first 3 months? And,
That's right.
and, you know, startup costs on the front end can be expensive.
Right.
We could even say startup cost.
Yeah.